We're honored to welcome our next guest to the show tonight, an extraordinarily gifted actress who's given exceptional and haunting performances in two of Schrader's most challenging works, Patty Hearst and Light Sleeper. Her resume also includes fantastic work in films like House Sitter, Moon Over Parador, Tombstone, Fly Away Home, and landmark television series like Magnum P.I., Justice League, The L Word, Battlestar Galactica. Jerry, you were talking about that earlier.
Oh yeah.
And, of course, the show that initially launched her career into the stratosphere, China Beach, for which she received 2 Emmy nominations and 2 Emmy wins for Best Actress. She's currently heating up the small screen again with her recent role of Catherine Mayfair in the television phenomenon Desperate Housewives. And, Jerry, I know you watch that every week.
You know, I did. I really did.
I know you do. Admit it, my friend. Guilty pleasure. It is a great joy to welcome Dana Delaney to our program. Miss Delaney, are you with us?
Yes, I am. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, my pleasure.
Oh, this is a great treat for us.
Thank you.
This seems like a great time for you. I mean, I look on the cover of Entertainment Weekly magazine, and there you are, and you have this great new role in Desperate Housewives. Is this an exciting time?
It is nice. You know, I've never stopped working. You just sort of go in waves, and this is sort of a little bit of a crest right now.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Well, tell me about that set, working on that show. Is that a lively, fun set?
Yeah, it is fun. I mean, it's very much its own world, and that took a little getting used to at first because it's this strange hybrid of soap opera and sitcom that
right.
I think it's really the first time that anybody's really been able to pull off that tone and make it last. And I think that Mark Cherry has some kind of savant thing going there. I don't even begin to understand it.
But I would think that it would have to be at first, because that's for all intents and purposes, it's a family that's existed for several years already.
Mm-hmm.
Have to be a little intimidating to kind of walk into that and try to become acclimated with that.
Yeah, I mean, I just sort of think of it as work, and so I kind of keep my head down, do my job, concentrate, and then hopefully the rest will follow. And It has. Everybody, at first, understandably, everybody was kind of like, why do we need another cast member? It's already so big. But now it's been great. I just sort of feel like I'm part of the family.
Now, you did quite a bit of TV and a few films before your first collaboration with Mr. Schrader, with Patty Hearst. Was there an audition process for Patty Hearst? What was that experience like?
It's funny. I met with Paul on that, and I had long hair, and he said to me, would you cut your hair off for the movie? Because, the original Angela Atwood, which was not her real name. I'm trying to remember. It was Angela something. Anyway, she had this bob. I said, yeah, sure. So that was the origin of my bob, was because Angela had one. Mm-hmm. And then in the middle of shooting Patty Hearst, I got cast in China Beach. So I was shooting the pilot of China Beach and Patty Hearst simultaneously, so that's why I ended up having that bob for China Beach, was Patty Hearst.
Oh, wow. So what? I'm sure you knew about Schrader's work prior to working with him.
Yes.
Yes. What surprised you about him? Because obviously his work, just judging on his work, you expect this incredibly intense person. Is that pretty much what you found on set?
Yeah, I mean, Paul is intense. There's nobody like Paul. He is truly an auteur, and there's not many of those left. Yeah. He has a vision, and it's very clear what he wants from top to bottom. He oversees everything. He's such a visual person, especially for somebody who, is an intellectual. It's interesting to have that mix. So the look is important to him. And, yeah, he is intense, He's what I imagined when I was starting acting, what a film director should be.
Yeah. But how exactly does he direct? I mean, you've worked with him twice now.
Yeah. Well, the first time it was just terrifying because he's so smart. And, he expects a lot. He gave us all a lot of research about the period during the Patty Hearst movie.
Right.
We all had a lot of books to read. And then we all went up to San Francisco. I don't know if you know all this, but we went up to San Francisco, and all the people cast of the SLA, including Natasha Richardson, who was playing Patty,
Right.
And we lived in this horrible apartment in San Francisco. We were supposed to pretend we were the SLA for a week.
Right.
And sleep on the
we
floor.
just spoke to William Forsythe.
Oh, well, Bill could tell you, yes.
Yeah, he started tell us a little bit more about that. How did that help you as an actor? I would think that would be invaluable.
Well, did he tell you how long we lasted doing it?
No.
I think it was 2 days. I mean, we were all supposed to take turns cooking and do all this stuff and, dress in our cross-dressing outfits and all. And by the end, it was so funny because Natasha was the only one of us who really cooked, and she sort of became the mother hen of all of us.
Oh, wow.
And then we couldn't really deal with it. We all ended up staying in some crappy motel instead. We were too spoiled.
Light Sleeper was another just fantastic
Yes.
role. Tell for our audience who aren't aware, tell us a little bit about that film and the character you play.
Well, that was what was great for me was it was sort of Paul was my bookend because before I did China Beach, I did Patty Hearst, and then my first movie after China Beach was Light Sleeper.
Right.
And it was so nice to go back to Paul because, that's part of his trilogy of The Loner, The American Gigolo, and
The Walker, I think, was the third.
Was the third one.
Yeah, the third one.
Yeah, and he, again, was great. It was such a beautifully written role. It was just beautifully written from beginning to end. Nothing changed. It was just as scripted. Nothing ever changes in Paul's scripts because they're so pure.
Oh, yeah.
And, again, he knows exactly what he wants. And I just remember him saying to me, and he kind of will screw with you. He likes to mess with you a little bit. He likes to play with your head.
I can imagine that.
And just like this is how I thought directors would be, those little games that they play. And he's from that old-time school of doing that, of trying to psychological games with you. And I remember he took me out to dinner after a couple of days of shooting Light Sleeper, and Paul likes to drink wine, and I like to drink wine. So we were having our wine and talking, and he said, it's not like television. He said, you've been doing television for a long time now. He says, you don't have to do the same thing in every take.
Right.
And I was so insulted. Because I didn't think I was doing the same thing.
Right. Oh, my.
I mean, that is the worst thing you can say to an actor because he's just basically saying you're a hack.
This is something that we've heard about him, though, that he is very blunt and straightforward.
He'll tell you what's on his mind.
Yes, and also I think he was really screwing with me, too, because he knew that would upset me.
Right, right, put you on edge.
Yeah, because I always thought of myself as so inventive. So it was great because, believe me, the next time I went to the set, I was trying everything possible.
Well, he strikes me as one of those directors that you can take those chances with, and you can explore different directions for a character. Did you consider these like major risky roles for you? I mean, did you feel like you were taking risks with these characters?
No, not really, because I actually have a sensibility a lot like Paul's. I mean, the darker, the better for me. I love that. I love going there, and so I felt really at home working with him. It felt very natural for me.
This is something that's very, very interesting to me because we think of Paul Schrader and we think, like you said, the lonely man, the outsider. We always think of the strong male presence in his films. So with something like Patty Hearst and Light Sleeper, what does that tell us about his understanding and his portrayal of women?
I think, the thing that people probably don't realize about Paul is what a huge heart he has. He's extremely sentimental, and I think he doesn't really like to show that a lot. But he's a very, very kind person, really, at heart, and very, very sensitive. Yeah. And I think that, especially in Light Sleeper, the character that Susan Sarandon played, it's just heartbreaking. The whole movie is heartbreaking.
Oh, yeah.
To me. And then my character, Marianne, that journey that she takes from getting her life together to just at the end, you just know she's just not going to make it.
Right.
It's sad, and I think Paul relates to that kind of thing as a human being of the demons inside. He's got his own demons like we all do.
Yeah.
I have a question from the chat room, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
What does he allow for any improv on the set?
We definitely, when we did Patty Hearst, there was improv.
Right.
But not so much on Light Sleeper because it was such a tight script.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't remember doing a lot in that.
I mean, you've been acting for quite some time now. How rare is it to get a script like that really, I mean, it's all on the page? Very rare, especially these days. Yeah. I mean, I didn't know how spoiled I was, that I got to start out doing something like that. Mm. Yeah. We interviewed Jeff Goldblum about his collaboration with Mr. Schrader, and he said that Schrader is a wonderful kind of raconteur as well. That he's an excellent storyteller of Hollywood and his dealings with Hollywood. Do you recall any kind of stories with your time with him? Yes, there are many, many stories. Most of them you can't say. Actually, this is uncensored radio. You can say whatever you like.
You can say whatever you want. You're going to say whatever you want.
I can't remember specifically. I'm sorry. But it's just Paul himself is such a character. Right. I mean, that's what I remember, just hanging out with him, because he will always put his own foot in his mouth. Because that's what I mean. He's so endearing, because on one hand, he's such an intellectual, so smart, and such a, an encyclopedia of film knowledge. Mm. And yet, he will always offend somebody somehow with what he says. That's great. He's a provocateur. It's wonderful. And again, he's working with Willem Dafoe in Light Sleeper as well, who you obviously acted opposite of in the film. Mm-hmm. And they've collaborated many times. He almost seems to be, in a sense, Schrader's muse. Yeah, no, it's true. And I think part of that is because Willem is such a lovely man. He's also got that dichotomy going, because his exterior is so extraordinary looking and sometimes frightening, and yet inside he's just the softest creature. And somehow that works, the contrast of that. He even said that he likes Willem when he is vulnerable. Most people use him for, the tough villain, but he enjoys the vulnerability of Willem Dafoe. Oh, he was so vulnerable in Light Sleeper.
And also autofocus, too. I mean,
yes. I loved autofocus. Yeah. I thought that was great. Think of the look of that film. It so captured that period. Yeah. It's rare to get a director these days who writes and directs and also creates a world unto himself, and Paul is one of the few left that still does that.
Right.
Absolutely. We have a phone call. We have a caller. Let's see if we can pick it up, see if this is a question for you here on the line. 703, you're on the air. Go right ahead.
Hello, Miss Dana.
Hello.
I've been following your career with great interest for a long time. My name is Michael from the beautiful state of Virginia.
Oh, hi, Michael.
Happy belated birthday. You get better with age.
Thank you.
Are you done shooting Desperate Housewives, or is it still going on?
We have, let's see, we're just starting episode 14. We have 3 more to go.
I'm sorry I missed being able to get to New York last year to see you on stage.
Oh, yes. I had a great time doing it. I did this Neil LaBute play last fall off-Broadway called Things We Said Today. That was really fun to do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he's another... You know what? I see a lot of similarity between Neil and Paul.
I do too. Now that you mentioned that, I was going to bring that up. Thank you, by the way, Michael, for calling in.
Thank you, Michael.
Tell me about that similarity you see.
Well, again, it's funny. I'd never really thought about it before.
But it's there.
It's there. They're both really smart and extremely, words, great with the script, and yet also really sensitive with their direction. And Neil also creates his own world. It's his own world view that you get. And you always know when you see a Neil LaBute piece, and you know when you see a Paul Schrader piece.
That's very true.
And they're also the same thing. They've got this dichotomy going where on the outside, I think they scare people, but on the inside, they're the sweetest men. They really are, and I don't think people get to see that side to them that often.
I would say it's really true with Neil LaBute.
Yeah, very much so. And they're not afraid to explore the extremes.
Yeah, I mean, and a lot of it has to do with male, female, issues, and I think they've both been accused of misogyny, and I think it's unfair on both counts.
Yeah. So how do you place these two in the scope of your career? If you're able to be objective about your own career, how do you place these two collaborations with Schrader? I
would still say to this day that Light Sleeper is my favorite movie that I've done. And it's too bad that it was so early in my career.
Well, it hasn't been all downhill since Light Sleeper.
No, but in terms of sensibility, my personal sensibility, that was the closest to it.
Yeah. At the same time, I know you have several films on the horizon. You have, I think, like 4 films awaiting release. Would you like to tell us about some of those?
Well, it's this world of indie filmmaking, and you do them and you hope for the best, and then you see what happens, and they're all very different. One in particular that I liked was called Multiple Sarcasms. That's with Tim Hutton and Mira Sorvino. That a guy named Brooks Branch directed. It's his first movie. He wrote it and directed it. And one of the things that's fun about it is it's very much in that 70s vein of movies like Starting Over and Paul Mazursky and those kind of movies, Pakula.
He's got quite a cast.
Yeah, and he really, I think, captures the feeling of that period, which was a great period for filmmaking, obviously.
Yeah. So just to end on a Schrader question, what do you think his identity is in film? What is his legacy?
Well, I mean, obviously he'll always be known as the man who wrote Raging Bull and Taxi Driver.
Right.
I mean, those, and also, Last Temptation of Christ. The Scorsese connection will always be there.
Yeah, that's for sure.
But I think for him himself, as a director, I think that he will be very unique and sort of part of a dying breed of director, which makes me sad.
Sadly so. Yeah.
I'm afraid you're right.
Yeah. We're talking about this with our first guest tonight. That it's very sad and very telling that someone like Paul Schrader has to work 3 or 4 years in between films just to raise financing for the next one.
It just pains me for me to see what he goes through now in terms of trying to work within the system.
Yeah.
Because I mean, he was doing those movies that now we would call indie movies, but back then, the studios paid for them.
Right.
And it pains me to see him go through what he has to go through now to get a script made.
Well, especially, I think he said in an interview himself that Autofocus and Affliction, they didn't lose money. They made money.
Right.
But not the kind of money that automatically allows them to start up another one with their financing.
Yeah, and they just provided great roles for actors.
Oh, they were amazing.
Each time out of the gate, it does.
Yeah, I mean, just to see James Coburn like that,
Yeah,
killed me.
Absolutely.
Killed me, and what a great role, for him to end his career on.
Yeah.
And the same thing to see Greg Kinnear play a part like that.
Well, I think that's really the changing point for Greg Kinnear. It's after that he starts to get the more darker, more serious parts, the Matador, Little Miss Sunshine, even just things outside his comfort area.
Yeah, and also, it's funny, because he was in that Neil LaBute movie, Nurse Betty.
That's right.
Yes.
And he was great in that.
He was.
There's the LaBute connection again.
Yeah.
And there's something interesting to me about the how fascinated he is with the contrast. I mean, you see it with a movie like Hardcore, which we mentioned before you came on, and certainly with Autofocus. There's something about, I think he enjoys exploring a character acting in a way that is the complete opposite of what's in his best interest, what he knows to be in his best interest.
Well, first of all, that's great drama right there,
yes.
and he's smart at that. But you can't ignore Paul's upbringing. It's his own internal struggle, being raised a Calvinist in Michigan, and yet at heart, I mean, he's such I wouldn't say a hedonist, but he enjoys life. He lives it fully, and he has great taste and appetite. And they wouldn't be that be held in such extreme if he wasn't told he couldn't do things as a kid.